Good morning and welcome to UC Davis Extension's information session about our supervisory skills and management development program. Thanks so much for joining us. Today in this session, we are going to talk about both of these programs, and I want to introduce you to the team that supports these programs. I'm Sharon Huntsman, the director of our management and leadership programs. Jennifer Keller, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today, also works on these programs and is a resource to you if you ever have any questions. And then I'm also joined here live by...
Hello everyone, I'm Stephanie Eden. You can see my picture there on the screen. And I am the program assistant for both the Supervisory Skills and Management Development program. So again, if you have any questions at any time, you can feel free to call that number there or send me an email, and I will be sending you an email after this session as well, so don't feel pressured to have to write down that number quickly because I will be sending it out to you.
Thanks. And then we also have with us today Dawn Karner, who is one of the instructors in our Supervisory Skills program, as well as a leadership coach and consultant. Dawn, why don't you say hello?
Happy Wednesday morning.
Happy Wednesday morning indeed, and happy International Women's Day to all the women who are joining us. Today what we're going to do is we are going to first cover our 5 half-day supervisory skills program. And Dawn Karner, who's with us, is one of our instructors in that program. She teaches coaching employees, and she's going to give you some insight into what she does with her half-day. Then we'll have some questions, and then we will go into the management development program, which is a 3-day program, and we'll again have time for your questions. Our goal with this entire program today is to help you understand which one of these programs might be the best fit for you. So I really want to encourage you, if you've got any questions along the way, type it into the Q&A box. We'll try to answer as we go, and then we'll also again have time for Q&A, and you can type into that box, and we will answer any questions that you've got.
And speaking of questions, if you have any questions about the sound at all, if you can maybe hear us cutting in and out, you're also more than welcome to. Underneath the Q&A box, you should see a gray box that says trouble with your sound. And it says if you have trouble hearing the program, please call into the phone conference line. And it has a code to dial into and then a code to enter to get access to this session. So if at any problem you're having troubles with your computer speakers, feel free to pick up your telephone, call into that number, and you'll be able to hear us that way as well. All right, so I would also like to inform you of one very exciting perk of joining us today for this session, which is that after the session, I will be giving you details on how to receive a $100 off coupon your enrollment in either the Supervisory Skills or the Management Development program. So stay with us till the end to hear details on how to receive that coupon. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, let's take a poll. We're curious, how many years of supervision or management experience do you have? So you should see down below that a poll open up that has different options. Maybe you don't have any management or supervision experience and you're looking to step in. Maybe you have 1 to 3 years, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, or over 10 years of experience. So we're seeing a lot of results come in, and it looks like, wow, we actually have about 30% are over 10 years, so we have some very seasoned managers here. And it's split pretty evenly, actually. We've got around 30 to 40% that have 1 to 3 years, or they're looking to step into supervision. And that's excellent because these two programs actually serve two slightly different needs. The Supervisory Skills program is more targeted toward relatively new managers or people looking to step into supervision who are seeking that foundational training. And then Management Development program is usually more targeted to those who have more years of management experience and they're looking to hone those skills. But really, you're the best person to assess where you're at and what you're looking for. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll tell you a little bit about both of these programs, and you can decide which one is right for you.
All right.
All right, so these two programs, we've got, as you can see on the screen, Supervisory Skills and Management Development. The next time we're offering both of these programs is in the spring of this year. Supervisory Skills is April 4th to May 2nd from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., so it's just one half day per week for 5 weeks. Whereas the Management Development Program is offered in a slightly varied format. It is May 10th to the 24th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., so that's offered for 3 consecutive weeks, 1 day a week, as a full day program. So Sharon, do you want to share with us some of the professional benefits of these programs?
Sure. While these are very different programs in their format and their timing, what they all share in common is that they are taught by incredibly expert instructors who have a really in-depth experience themselves as supervisors and managers and leaders in organizations, and who are very gifted at sharing their lessons learned and their expertise with you. Both series are held conveniently in our facility in downtown Sacramento, and both will yield a certificate program. That you can put on your wall in your office or your cubicle and demonstrate to those around you that you're making an investment in your ability to lead other people. And so I want to get started with first the Supervisory Skills series. This is 5 half days in April and May, and we cover these 5 topics. And what I'm going to do is go into a little bit on each topic. I'll tell you who's teaching it and what you can expect to get out of each of these half days. Now, I know every supervisor has to juggle multiple priorities, and Lisa Montanaro is a guru of effectiveness around time management and prioritization. She's the author of The Ultimate Life Organizer, and what I find is really valuable about this class is that she'll help you set priorities in order to become more efficient, and she'll guide you through a self-assessment and give you tools and strategies, but ultimately she's really going to encourage you to find a system that works for you. She really believes that there is no one way to be organized and to prioritize, that it really has to be tailored to how you think and how you perform best. And so she's really gifted at guiding people through a process that's going to get them to where they feel more effective and like better masters of their own time. Next, we have Dr. Paul Porter, who is a management consultant and coach, and leads a lot of classes for us in conflict resolution and management development and working with strengths. And he really helps you understand how to work with the whole team to help them to be effective. Supervisors have to be effective one-on-one, but they also need to make sure that the whole team is working well together. So he's going to help you understand what some of the research says about what differentiates effective teams from dysfunctional teams. So he relies on the research from Lencioni. And he will give you some practical tips that you can use as a supervisor to help your team, wherever they are, become stronger. Then we have Duncan Brand, who has a tremendous amount of experience in developing leaders throughout his career at organizations like Cisco, Aerojet Rocketdyne, Hewlett-Packard, and the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. And what Duncan really understands is that change is one of the only things that you can count on as a supervisor and a manager. And so if change is going to be constant, and as supervisors, you're going to be asked to implement a lot of changes over the course of your tenure as a supervisor, how to be as successful as you can in that realm. And so he's going to sort of help people understand the different stages that organizations move through when they're going through change. And most importantly, I think for supervisors, how do you deal with resistance to change? It is a normal and natural human response to be resistant to change, and yet you still have to get people on board as a supervisor. And Duncan will help you walk through how to meet people where they're at and help them move forward. And then we have Dawn Karner, who's with us today, and I'll ask Dawn to go through what she's going to do in her class. But I will just say that Dawn is a really exceptionally gifted coach who has worked with leaders at all levels to help them aim the talents of their people toward better performance and to help people be more effective in their roles. And she teaches a lot of programs for us where she's helping supervisors and managers to be more effective coaches of their employees. Dawn,
thank you,
I'll hand it off to you.
So hello again. This program is a quick snippet of coaching skills and abilities to be a good coach and to take on that role as coach when you're a leader, a supervisor, or a manager. So kind of the bullet points that are there are the overview of the 4 hours that we have to spend in the coaching class. And then from there, you have some idea of what it takes to look at conversations from a coaching point of view as opposed to just how do I manage or performance manage somebody through a process. So I'd like to ask you a quick question. And the question that I have for you is really, we've all had experience with a coach of one form or another. And so what's a word that you would use to describe what great coaches do? You can see the poll open up at the top, and it's really kind of an open-ended poll, but just to give you an idea, is, you've got one: inspire, informative, more inspire. We've got a lot of inspire. Yeah. More questions, more answers. Let's see. I'm trying to see them all. I got lots of them. Motivate, guide, mentor, listen. Yes, listening is key. Mentor, lead by example. Yeah. Somebody here identified strengths for success. Absolutely. It's interesting that we use motivate. Absolutely. It's interesting that we use in supervision and management mentoring at the same time we use coaching, and they are similar in a lot of ways and different, very different in a lot of other ways. So you've all that you really have all had experience with a coach. And so I really want to spend a little bit of time today just talking about a couple of key areas that we cover. Tom, you have 2 questions. I see it in the chat box, but I can't see what they are. Anybody? Oh, here they are. Okay. This is going to be for Stephanie and Sharon. I'm going to leave that question of Tom's for you all and move through my slides. So several of you put listening as a skill that a coach that you experience with uses. And listening, I think, is one of the key skills, if not the key skill, to coaching. And there's 4 different levels of listening that we talk about when we go through the class. We talk about pretend listening. And I always use the example that we do that with our kids. We do that with our significant others, where we're just kind of going, and yet we're really not tuned into what people are saying. And then we have selective listening. And, it's just a step above a pretend listening, but it's really not focused on, the person who's speaking and what they're trying to convey or communicate. And the level that I try to get folks to is attentive listening. And that's really, being present in that moment and watching what somebody is saying, watching their body language, the intonation they're using, things of that sort, to really, really understand what's going on. And if you're a great listener, you get to a next level, which is empathic listening. And that is sometimes a gift that people have, but it can be learned. And it can be learned if you're paying attention and you've got to that attentive level, and now you're really, reading the tea leaves, so to speak. And I'll leave that woo-woo piece for when you come to the class. But it really has to do with, do you hear what isn't being said? Do you read between the lines? A lot of us, when we communicate, we think we're imparting what we want, and yet we haven't really used the words that would be able to get that across, but it comes across in lots of other ways. So we talk about those 4 levels of listening. Equally important is powerful questions. And I always joke with people that powerful questions aren't because they're a secret list that only you get once you've come to a coaching class. You can mentor the term powerful question, or mentor. You can put or Google the term powerful questions, and you'll get a whole list of it. But essentially, they're open-ended. They start with words like what or how, and they cause a person to reflect. And that is really what makes them so powerful. Think about when you ask somebody a question and they just flip an answer back to you. That's a question that you're getting data and information on. But is it really powerful? Does it cause people to reflect and think about the answer? And so when we use these skills as a leader, we're helping to get to an answer that is the right answer for that particular employee. And so coaching takes a little bit more time because we're asking powerful questions instead of directing or giving direction, and we're listening for the answer. But ultimately, what makes that powerful is your employee comes to that answer and then they own it. And so really the last piece of a powerful question is, how does the outcome of that answer reflect on the next steps that a person will take? And who owns that? Who owns that answer? Who owns that idea of how to problem solve or how to work through something? And so these are the 2 kind of cornerstones or 2 legs of a 3-legged stool that we look at. The last being, and we don't have a slide for that, but really a process to go through and help people set up for and go through a coaching session with a staff member and have a successful outcome that is owned by the person who needs to own it, which is the employee. Once they find their answer, it's the right one for them, and they can really be successful and do things that they didn't know they could do. And so these are the pieces, the main pieces of coaching skills that I think are most important. Stephanie, do we have one more bullet point that's coming down on that, or no?
I think it ends with cause reflection.
So, I covered a lot of information in a short period of time. But if you have any questions about any of the things I've shared, I'd be happy to take, any questions. Or if you don't have any, come to the class. It's a lot of fun. It's very much a workshop and information sharing, and we take what you already know, because everybody comes in with skills and knowledge and experience, and we just kind of add to that and help you add some more tools to your toolbox.
Great. Thank you, Dawn. And I think that you're really demonstrating here how coaching is really a process of empowerment. There's that buzzword that we all know so well, of empowering your employees. This is really the how of empowering your employees. And even though it feels like it could take more time, ultimately it makes your job as a supervisor so much easier if you have staff who are really making decisions that they're owning and following through on. So thanks so much for sharing with us those key skills of coaching. So then the next class we Oh, yes, thanks, Dawn. The next class we have in the Supervisory Skills half-day series is Generations at Work. And Jeannie Hagen-Green teaches this class. She's an expert trainer, the recipient of our Outstanding Instructor Award back in 1993. She's been doing a great job at developing people through UC Davis Extension for so many years, and she's just incredibly good at facilitating a great conversation in the classroom about how we do have different generations working side by side, often younger generations managing older generations. You know, you may be a millennial supervisor who has Gen X and baby boomer employees, or you may be a boomer who is wrestling with how to manage and supervise the Gen X younger staff members. And Jeannie does a great job of helping people value what each generation is bringing into the workforce so that you can get the best out of all of the people that you're responsible for supervising. And then finally, just to sum up, the Supervisory Skills Session 2 is in the spring, but the Session 1 is in the fall.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's about 5 to 6 months after we have Session 1. And just to inform you, you do not have to take Session 1 before you take Session 2. Session 1 does start with Principles of Supervision and Management, but that is really the only benefit to attending Session 1 versus Session 2. So perhaps if you don't have any experience at all and you'd feel more comfortable starting with Session 1 with that Principles of Supervision and Management class, you can wait for it, but there's absolutely no need. All of these classes are really designed to work as standalone classes. And actually, one of the questions that one of our participants asked was, would it be possible to send someone to just one session? And the answer to that is absolutely. The cost for just one class, as you can see on the slide, is $280, but it's actually an immense cost saving if you can to send someone to the entire program. Not only would they get a well-rounded review of all of these skills, it's a total of $1,250 to send someone to the entire program. So it's actually a savings of $150 to enroll in the entire series rather than just individual classes. And so the topics for the classes are listed there on the screen for both Session 2 and Session 1. Again, Session 2 comes this spring. Session 1 is offered in the fall, but you don't have to take those in order. But really, the best discount that you can possibly receive for this program is our group discount, which is 10%. And so if you have maybe a coworker or even a friend who you think would really benefit from this program and you wanted to take it, if you bring 2 people to this program, you can save 10% off of the program. So if you have a small group, plus it's fun to have a friend or a coworker in the class. You can carpool. There's all sorts of benefits. So we would highly recommend taking advantage of that 10% off discount if you possibly can.
And I just want to clarify that when we say $1,250 for the entire program, we mean for an entire session. So Session 1 is different than Session 2. Session 2 would be $1,250 for the entire program. Just to clarify that.
Yes,
okay.
That's exactly right.
And now we've got a really dedicated time for questions. If you've got questions for Dawn, questions for us. I know one of the questions is, will these slides be available so that you can show your managers? You know, if you need to make a case, this is something that would be worth showing. We actually are recording this session, so this entire session will be available for viewing, and I'm sure that we could also send these as a PDF out to folks who want to be able to just have the slide deck. Are there any other questions about the Supervisory Skills Program? We'll take a pause for a moment, just see if anybody has anything they want to raise their hand on.
And once if you think of something as well, after we go ahead and move on, just go ahead and type in the box, because at the very end of the session, we will be having a longer Q&A session where you can ask questions about anything, either of the programs. So if you don't have anything now, but you think of something a little bit later, that's not a problem. We'll definitely get to all of your questions before the end of the session.
Yeah. All right, so now I'm going to talk about the Management Development Program, which is really designed for people who have some management experience already. You may have many years of management experience, but have never had a chance to do any formal training in managerial roles. And so this program is designed as a cohort-based program. So we have, 25 or so people in this program who go through all 3 days together. And it is a 3-day program. It's not take one or the other. It's take the whole thing. It's a holistic approach to managing, to developing your management practices. So the first day in this program is about the changing role of the manager. We live in what some people refer to as a VUCA world, a volatile and an uncertain, ever-changing world, and so the role of the manager, in some ways, is more challenging than it ever has been. And Chris Plackey is an amazing leadership coach and mentor. She's the author of 2 books, Change Your Think and 5 Truths for Thinking About Difficult People. And she is the most recent recipient of UC Davis's Outstanding Service Award for her instruction. And what she does in this class is really help you understand the role of the manager in relationship to the organization's mission and vision, that your role is setting expectations that help the organization accomplish its vision and mission, and how to use key performance indicators to help you set expectations and standards as the basis for creating a culture of accountability, really, within your organization. And then in the afternoon, she spends a good amount of time on your role as a coach. I mean, once you have set expectations, then your job is to help coach people to higher levels of performance. And she provides a pretty simple framework for you to use in how to go about coaching people to help them be their best and help the organization be successful in everything that it needs to do. The second day of the program is led by Kim Silvers, who is a human resource management guru here in the Sacramento region, and she's an expert at how to have those conversations that are sometimes difficult in organizations, and how to be more effective in providing people feedback, to encourage them to continue doing what they're doing and to refine it, and then to also let them know really clearly where their performance may not be measuring up. I think one of the things that's valuable about Kim is, as an HR expert, she is great at advising you on how to reduce any kind of legal risk, which is, I think, one of the things that really prevents people from fully embracing their role as managers and providing feedback and making sure that everyone is accountable for their responsibilities in an organization. And in this day, participants take the DISC assessment. And some of you may have heard of DISC. It's a behavioral style assessment that sorts people into 4 categories based on their tendencies, and it gives you a lot of information about how you behave, some needs that you're likely to have, some preferences that you're likely to have, and then I think really valuably some guidance about how to develop yourself based on your dominant style. So I'm going to share with you some insight about what these different styles are, and then you might want to take a guess at what style you might be. So the first is D in DISC for dominance, the person who places emphasis on getting results. They see the big picture. They can be very direct. They accept challenge. But they might be a little impatient. They want to get straight to the point. So people will get some feedback if they are high in D. The next one is influence. These are people who place an emphasis on persuading others, on relationships. They're very enthusiastic. They are very motivational, often very spirited. They like to collaborate. And because they're very socially influential, they do not like being ignored. And then the S in DISC is steadiness. And these are people who place an emphasis on cooperation and dependability. And they don't like to be rushed. They rely on routines. to be consistent and stable in their performance. They tend to be a calming influence amongst their peers. They're very supportive and loyal to the group. They may even put the group's needs above their own. And in that sense, they tend to be humble. And then the C in DISC stands for conscientiousness. And these people place an emphasis on accuracy and quality, expertise and competency. They are often independent and objective. So think about some of your more analytical types of thinkers in the organization. These people are probably high in C. They do want the details because the details really matter. If you don't have the details, you may end up being wrong, and that is one of the things that someone high in conscientiousness really fears, because accuracy is what they really have a strong preference for. So just for fun, let's have a little poll, and now that you've heard a brief description of the 4 different behavioral styles, which one do you think you might be? Dominant, influential, steady, or conscientious? Looks like right now we are, we are running about, influencing seems to be highest right now, and along with conscientiousness. I think almost everyone has voted. The thing that's important to know about this assessment, no matter what style you are, you can be a great manager. There is no one style that is the ideal profile for being a manager. And what you'll derive from this assessment is some awareness about what your preferences are. And I've gone through this assessment. I went through this program a few years back, and I think one of the things that I really took away is, where might my style get me into trouble with the people that I am managing, and how can I be mindful of that and be careful about that? I am actually someone who is high in D, in dominance. And so getting that feedback that, okay, you can be so quick to the point that you overpower other people, and you might lose out on the great ideas around you with your impatience. So that's something to pay attention to. Those are the kinds of insights that I think are so helpful for managers, because if we're not mindful of them, they can end up being career derailers for us. So we want to get that feedback, and this assessment is a great way for us to get some of that. Okay, and then the last day in the management development program, we have Dr. Paul Porter, again, who teaches a similar class in the supervisory skills series, but that one is a half day. This class is a full day, and it's about the manager's role as a team leader. And in this class, he really goes beyond the characteristics of team effectiveness to help you assess your team. And you'll actually do an assessment in the class where you begin to take a look at your team and how do they measure up in terms of the essential qualities of teams that are high performing. You will learn about the same kind of content from Lencioni about the 5 dysfunctions of underperforming teams. And you will leave with a game plan. So you're going to get some techniques to take your team that you have assessed and start working on how to make them more effective wherever they are, to help them grow in some measure. So you leave with a very practical game plan for improving your team's effectiveness.
All right, Sharon, thank you so much for all the details on the different instructors in the program and the different classes. So as you can see on your screen, here's a breakdown of the format of the management development program. It is a 3-day program offered 1 day per week for 3 weeks, from May 10th to the 24th of May from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. this upcoming spring. And just to let you know, we do offer this program as well in the fall. So if this time isn't good for you, you won't miss it. You'll just be able to catch it again next time it comes around in the fall. And this program does actually include morning refreshments and lunch for your convenience. So once you get here for the whole day, you can stay here for the whole day. All right, so this program is $1,950 for those 3 days. And again, the best discount that we possibly offer for this program is that 10% group discount. So if you have any friends or coworkers, be sure to let them know about this awesome opportunity that we have coming up this spring.
And I also just wanted to answer one of the questions that we've had in the chat room is what physical location are these programs at? They're both offered at our downtown teaching facility, the UC Davis Extension Sutter Square Galleria, which is at 28th and K Streets in the toward the Midtown area, really, of Sacramento. Okay, so now that you've heard about both of these programs, we are curious. Which program do you think is the best fit for you? Is it the Supervisory Skills Series, 5 half days? Or is it the Management Development Program, the 3-day cohort program? And if you are undecided, go ahead and put that into our Q&A box and let us know if you have a question that would help you to better understand which program is going to be the best fit for you. It looks like so far we've got the majority or the plurality of people saying the Management Development Program. Actually, the majority of people, the Management Development Program. Some people who want to just take an individual skills class out of the Supervisory Skills Series, which is absolutely, I mean, that's one of the, I think, the cool things about that Supervisory Skills Series is you can sign up for all 5. Or if all you can give time to is just 1 half day, you can do that too. That is really the most flexible program that we have in that regard. All right, I think we've got a question. Let's see. Okay, Stephanie, how many people do you have to have in order to have a group?
3 is actually the minimum number. So I see you asked here, can 3 be okay? 3 is absolutely perfect. Yes, that group discount is for 3 people or more.
Yes.
All right, so at this time, if you have any questions about really anything that we've gone over today for the supervisory skills or management development or format, or even a question for Dawn now that you've had some time to think about her presentation. If you have any questions at all, just go ahead and type it into that Q&A box. And we'll give you just a few minutes there.
So one of the questions that we've got is, I think, sort of a question and a statement. Is it better to have students not from the same business so they can get different perspectives? I do think that that is one of the values that people have when they come to this program. We have several companies who send people to our programs that have their own internal programs, but they like to give people an option where they can hear from people from other walks of life, people in different industries, people in different sectors of the economy. I think what's always true and what makes the class still work, even though there's so much diversity in the room, is that supervising and managing people are still people. And everywhere you go, people still need to know that they can trust you. They need to know that they can communicate with you well. They need to know that you have a plan for how your group is going to be successful. So people are people, and I think there is some value in the diversity. And the one question that you didn't ask that people often do ask that's kind of related is it okay to have someone who is a manager and their supervisor attend the same class at the same time? And I just think that it's great to have people who are all kind of in the same level attend the same program if they're going to go at the same time, because you want people to be able, if a manager needs to be able to talk openly about some of the challenges they're facing, they may not be able to be as open as they want to if someone in their who's one of their direct reports is there in the room with them, but who just happens to also be a manager, right? So we have managers, of course, going through our management development program. So it's definitely great to have people from the same organization. I encourage people not to have different levels. Stephanie, do you want to take this question?
Yes, I definitely can. So we had somebody ask, can the management development classes be taken individually like the supervisory skills? And the answer to that is that actually the management development program is a cohort-based program. So unfortunately, unlike supervisory skills where you can pick and choose topics that are most interesting to you, the management development program is a full program where you can't just pick and choose days. It is designed to have people go through it in its entirety.
Yes. The next question I've got is, would you facilitate to help people from the same business feel safe and engage even with peers in the room? Absolutely. I think one of the qualities that we look for in all of our instructors is to create a safe learning environment. And I do think that all of our instructors do a fantastic job. In a way, what they're doing is modeling the kind of safety that you want your supervisors and managers to create in the workplace for their direct reports, right? So, yeah, I do think that is part of what happens in our program. Do we have one more question, Stephanie?
It doesn't look like it. It looks like we're kind of getting down here to the end. So,
okay. All right.
Oh, actually, we did have one last person come in, and they asked for a PDF of slides. So, yeah, no problem. I will definitely be sending a PDF of the slides out with a link to a recording of this session. So you can feel free to share it and watch it again, maybe share it with different coworkers who you think might be interested, and like Sharon mentioned, with your employer to show them what a great benefit this could be to your organization or your team.
And if you've asked a question that's really particular to your organization, we will follow up with you directly right after this message, because some of the questions that have come through are very unique to the organization. So we're not ignoring you. We're just going to follow up with you so that in a way that not everyone has to go through it.
Exactly. And actually, our last question is a fantastic question, leads us right into the end of our presentation, which was, how do we get the $100 off discount? All right. So thank you so much for sticking with us and for learning about these programs. So as such, you'll receive a $100 off discount either program. So not the individual classes. If you want to enroll in all 5 courses within Supervisory Skills Series 1 or 2 or the Management Development Program, it's a $100 off of either program. And so all that you have to do that is to complete our very short evaluation that will actually be on a direct link on the next slide. And then what I will do is I will be sending you an email probably a little bit later on this week as soon as we get the recording for the session. And that will have both the link to the $100 off discount coupon as well as a recording of this session and also the PDF slides, as several of you have requested. So once you take that evaluation, it's actually going to, your web browser will auto-direct you to our website, where you can look at the programs in even more detail and even enroll online if you're ready. And so that email I'll be sending out a little bit later on this week will have my contact information. So if you think of any other questions you have about either of these programs or potentially about other programs that we might not have talked about today, you can absolutely ask me at that time. All right, well, I think that brings us to the end of our session today. So hopefully you have everything you need. If not, feel free to reach out to Sharon, Jennifer, or myself, and we look forward to seeing you in one of our upcoming classes.
Thanks so much, and thank you very much to Dawn Carner for being with us.
My pleasure. Have a great